In the spirit of winter, here in the holidays of December 2020, it's time to dive into the history and the story of a G.I. Joe with one of the coolest code names in G.I. Joe lore. Yes, it's time to talk about Frostbite. But before we do, thanks for watching JLS Comics. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. I do upload videos just like this every single week. Alright, let's jump into our story. Frostbite was born Farley Seward in Galena, Alaska. Larry Hama named Farley Seward after William H. Seward, a U.S. Secretary of State who bought Alaska from Alexander II and Russia for $7.2 million in 1867, about 2 cents per acre in other words. In hindsight, it was a great deal, but at the time, he was ridiculed for buying what they thought was an inhabitable icebox and polar bear playground, and thus the purchase came to be known as Seward's Folly. Seward's Folly, Farley Seward, see the connection? As his file card says, Farley was born in a place where summer is a myth and a crowd consists of 2 people standing on the same acre, a place where Soviet Siberia was at their doorstep. When he was 18 years old, Farley left home seeking adventure and challenge and briefly worked as a lineman on the Alaskan oil pipeline, where he bolstered his snow driving experience on everything from turbocharged snowmobiles to oil trucks. Farley can find his way through a blizzard with no GPS and a smile on his face. He can unclog a fuel line in sub-zero temperatures and know instinctively where a crevasse is hidden under snow cover. From there, Farley enlisted in the U.S. Army, and with the Army, Farley went to Fort Eustis for transportation school, and then Fort Knox for artillery school. He was then stationed in Greenland for a time before being tapped for a new team. So with all of this experience and the new team's need to bolster their Northern Warfare specialists to help out Snowjob, Farley joined the G.I. Joe team and took the codename Frostbite. According to Mark Bellomo's Ultimate Guide to G.I. Joe, preliminary names for Frostbite were Iceberg and Thin Ice. So Frostbite joined the team's Arctic unit and became the team's designated driver for the half-track Snowcat vehicle. Although when he joined the Tiger Force sub-team, he was barreling over sand dunes in the Sahara Desert instead of smashing snowbanks in the Arctic Circle. Either way, wherever he was, it was Frostbite's mission to put Cobra in the deep freeze permanently. Frostbite first appeared in Marvel Comics and Larry Hama's A Real American Hero comic book series with issue 64, although that was a small cameo as he was at the barracks party at the end of the issue. His first full appearance came with issue 68, and this issue opened up with the Baroness and her hiss tanks panicking about a G.I. Joe transport plane coming in for a landing at the Frozenland International Airport. The Joes were there as support to a special research team which ended up being Battle Force 2000. Wild Bill and Slipstream were able to land the massive plane, and as they swung around at the end of the runway, Frostbite shot out the back of the plane in the Snowcat along with Duke. They were there with Covergirl and Backstop and a Persuader, as well as Hawk and Iceberg and an Ostriker. The Persuader punched a hole in the Cobra tank line so that Wild Bill could take off again. Cobra was up in this frozen land installing terradromes equipped with paranoia-inducing low-frequency radio waves. Cobra Commander had bought these plans from Quinn a while ago. The signal started to seemingly affect the G.I. Joe team as Baroness and her tanks chased them out into the frozen tundra. A Mamba flown by Cobra Commander himself lined up for a kill shot, but Frostbite took it out with one heat-seeking surface-to-air missile fired from atop the Snowcat. The team was almost out of range, so Baroness ordered her tanks to shell the area where the Joes were with a barrage. Fire for effect, she ordered. But the barrage weakened the ice, and so they could only continue on with their wolves, leaving the hiss and maggot tanks behind. Cobra was about to hit the Joes with a collective kill shot when Battle Force 2000 showed up to Deus Ex Machina the firefight and win the day. Frostbite then went on a special mission and a couple of European missions. Special Mission 20, called Snowblind and promising all-out Arctic action, found the team over the frozen Bering Strait between Alaska and the USSR. Frostbite was nearly back home. Slipstream and Wild Bill were talking about a column of Soviet BTRs and the October Guard down on the ice pack, thinking that they were on a legitimate ice survey mission. Wild Bill said that Frostbite would be disappointed to not have action with the Snowcat, and that Frostbite was excited to show it off to both Snowjob and Avalanche. They got called off due to inclement weather just as Cobra and a pack of wolves attacked the Soviet armor column. So Wild Bill swung the plane around so that they could inspect the column of smoke billowing into the frigid air from over the snowy horizon. Wild Bill said that to find out what's happening, they'd need to put a team down on the ice, and that it would be up to Frostbite, who was in command of the Snowcat, and who would be the one stuck when that bad weather moved in. Let's do it, Frostbite said. So Wild Bill dropped the plane down low, lowered the rear ramp, and dropped the Snowcat out the back, and as they hit the snow, were already vrooming. "It's time to defrost a family-sized freezer bag of firefight," he said to Snowjob. The snowstorm moved in fast and visibility went down to nearly zero, but Frostbite was able to pick up the heat signature of the Cobra wolves and he fired a ski missile at them. Unfortunately, Cobra was also able to detect their thermal image on infrared, and so they fired a salvo. Frostbite cut the engines, engaged his infrared dampers, and slid the Snowcat around on the ice sheet away from the Cobra missile barrage. And Frostbite avoided the Cobra missiles just as his ski missile hit Techno Viper 296 in Wolf number 3. The Snowcat was still sliding as a Toxo Viper in Wolf number 4 fired and hit the Snowcat with a missile, and the Toxo Viper was about to hit them with a kill shot when Colonel Breckhoff in the October Guard barreled over a snow dune and took out Wolf number 4, saving them in the nick of time. Frostbite and Breckhoff agreed to team up to stop Cobra before they got to the water and an awaiting submarine. And after some cat and mouse with a wolf, they took one out, and then, with visibility still super low, the October Guard drove right into the nearly freezing water at the edge of the ice. So the Joes rescued the October Guard and gave them their blankets and hypothermia gear. Frostbite also gave Dinah a hot cup of joe. It turns out that this was all a distraction and that the Cobra wolves had gone north while the Joes had actually been tracking a slow-moving, low-thrust ski missile heading south. It was a diversion. So what was north? Well, it was an Arctic terror drone. Avalanche and Horror Show took out the drone with the last ski missile once they went back north. And as Wild Bill came in to recover them, Frostbite and the Colonel were side by side. Friends? Well, a chilly friendship perhaps, in a Cold War. Action Force 43, entitled A Silent Night, took place on Christmas Eve, 60 miles inside of the Norwegian Arctic Circle. Frostbite and Footloose were at a remote northern base trying to fend off Cobra snow serpents driving ferret ATVs. The pair found a Snowcat, which Frostbite drove, and a polar battle bear that Footloose drove. The Snowcat was hit and exploded, and by the time Footloose got to the wreckage and pulled him out from the twisted metal carnage, Frostbite was alive but unconscious, and he dragged his friend out in the snow. Footloose fired a grenade at an inbound ferret, which blew a hole in the ice, and the Cobra went into the drink. And instead of letting him freeze, because they're the heroes, the real American heroes, Footloose decided to pull the Cobra out of the water, and later on allowed him to sit around the campfire with him to stay warm. Frostbite was hurt too, but he was okay. Action Force Monthly number 8, called Nuclear Winter, was reprinted in the US as G.I. Joe European Missions number 8. The plane went down in the snowy wasteland of Greenland, 300 miles north of the Arctic Circle. It was carrying a guy named Professor Alec Gilmore, who was a leader in the field of armaments R&D. Someone on the radar of Destro's Mars Industries and who developed Project Omega, a stealth-equipped cruise missile capable of carrying multiple nuclear warheads. So Flint went with Frostbite and Iceberg to a base in Greenland, tasked with confirming if Project Omega went down with the plane. When they got to the Greenland base, Cobra attacked with a squadron of fangs while Destro stole a Snowcat. Frostbite was at the base while Flint and Destro were out in the snow looking for Project Omega. After G.I. Joe was stood down in 1994 with issue 155, Frostbite went back to the Army and was now based out of Fort Greely's Cold Regions Test Center. But when the team was reinstated, Frostbite joined up again. He was seen on the US-Canadian border helping to stop a smuggling operation that wanted to bring a nuke down into the United States. In G.I. Joe Frontline, in a 2002 story called Icebound, Duke put together a team consisting of himself, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Lifeline, and Airtight to return to Operation Coldfire at an Arctic research base in a remote region of Norway. The original scientists were working on bioweapons research when it went dark. Later, Duke's entire Black Ops team was killed. They had been sent in originally during the time when there was no G.I. Joe team. Airtight was saying that Frostbite seems to be rather subdued when he should be happy that he was pulled off a 3-month detail in hot Arizona to go into a cold weather environment. But this remote location and savage bioweapons killers on the loose was enough to make anyone subdued. The team went into the facility in a scene reminiscent of the start of the Aliens movie. Frostbite was on the IR scanner looking for hot bodies in the facility. As the bracers holding the front door were knocked over and they were trapped, Duke put the team into 2-man search teams and Frostbite was paired with Airtight. And they had to fight the cold, being trapped, and giant monsters that were merged with polar bear DNA to stay alive. Many years later, once Larry Hama picked up his original run of ARAH, but now with IDW Publishing, Frostbite showed up in issue 167. He was somewhere on the North Polar ice cap with Cold Front and Iceberg riding atop an avalanche while Blizzard was on their flank off-panel in a Snowcat. But they weren't at any somewhere. They were at the remote Russian ice station we first saw in issue number 2. They found the station and Frostbite was designated door kicker for their breach. The base was newly empty and freshly cleaned out, something they realized as they were surrounded by Cobra snow serpents and a handful of wolves. They managed to take out some of the wolves and Cobra before running out of ammo and their position being overrun. and a couple of Cobra ice vipers beat Frostbite and Iceberg unconscious with the butts of their rifles. Not cool. They then tied them to the back of one of their wolves as they moved out. To avoid commo channel monitoring by Cobra, Blizzard, who'd broken off from the team much earlier with the Snowcat, posted a video to, of all things, YouTube with the title, "Cold Front Sweeping Off Iceberg May Cause Blizzard Conditions in Frostbite." Blizzard managed to ski around and free Frostbite, Cold Front, and Iceberg, while also taking on a bunch of Cobras. And beaten, bloody, bruised, and battered, the team managed to commandeer a wolf tank, and Cobra chased Frostbite and the Joes in their tank to the Cobra extraction plane at the designated LZ, and nearly took them out, but Joe Colton fired his space laser from New York City in the Chrysler Building, walking it across the snow and destroying the whole Cobra column. So they were able to get to the plane and escape the frozen, unforgiving terrain. Frostbite and Iceberg held the pilots of the Antonov plane at gunpoint as they came into Thule, Greenland with executive branch level clearance to land. Frostbite showed up again in issue 201, now at the pit on the garage ramp with Dusty, and nearly run over by Jinx and Pale Peony, who were driving crazily in their red convertible. Then we jump forward again to issue 271, where Frostbite was on one of the buses to Springfield to rescue Sean Collins. Bullhorn nearly deafened Frostbite and everyone else on the bus as he used his bullhorn to yell, "Lock and load!" And Frostbite stayed on the bus for the op as one of the Joes firing furiously out the bus windows at Cobra. And so that's where we leave Frostbite in the winter of 2020, still very much an active part of the G.I. Joe team and still as cool as ever. Frostbite was in the G.I. Joe animated series, although the only time he said anything was in Ode de Cobra, where he was in his Snowcat chasing Firefly and then griping about how the Saboteur escaped. And though he didn't say anything, Frostbite was first seen in 3 Cubes to Darkness. Frostbite was also in 2004's Valor vs. Venom animated movie, voiced by Louis Chirillo, as the team fought against Venomous Maximus. Instead of his Snowcat, Frostbite was seen driving the Ice Saber. Frostbite was also in the Whiteout episode of G.I. Joe Renegades, though it appears that he died in an avalanche. In 1985, which was well before his first comic book appearance, Frostbite debuted as the driver for the Snowcat vehicle. In 1987, Frostbite was available via Hasbro Direct as part of a set with Crankcase, Copperhead, Hiss and Stinger drivers, and Thunder. And Frostbite was also part of the Hasbro Direct mail-away offers like Chilling Events, Operation Blackout, Top Secret, Mission Rescue Code Blue, and End of Slaughter. Then in 1988, both Frostbite and the Snowcat got repaints as they joined Tiger Force, and the Snowcat was changed to a Tiger Cat. In 1993, Frostbite then joined Battle Corps as the Arctic Commander and came with an X4 machine gun and a giant orange thermal cannon with heat-generated blast propulsion. Skipping forward nearly a decade, Frostbite's next figure was released in 2002, where he squared off in a 2-pack against Neo Viper. There were 2 of these. One was a white Frostbite with a blue Neo Viper, and the other was a green Frostbite with a gray Neo Viper. The next year, 2003, saw a new Frostbite released with a Toys R Us exclusive Snowcat vehicle. Also in 2003, Frostbite came with the Forest Fox with the Spy Troops Built to Rule line. Yet another Frostbite came out in 2004, this time as part of Valor vs. Venom and with an Ice Saber instead of a Snowcat. In 2005, again still with Valor vs. Venom, Frostbite came in the Winter Operations set with Snake Eyes, Backblast, Mirage, Short Fuse, and Stalker. Another Frostbite in 2005 found him boxed with a snowboard and paintball gun and carded with Snowwolf, a Cobra Polar Sentry. 2009 Frostbite joined the Rise of Cobra line and came with the Ice Dagger. Then in 2011, Frostbite was boxed with the Ice Saber vehicle, a redone Ice Dagger. 2015 Frostbite again joined Tiger Force, and here he was part of the helicopter crew for the set that was released at the JoeCon that year, along with both Alpine and Sky Striker. And another Frostbite came from the G.I. Joe Collectors Club and was packaged in 2015 with Big Ben and a Crimson Guard Immortal. So to sum up Frostbite, we turn to his file cards again in one simple quote: "The colder the climate, the hotter my trigger finger." And with that, it's time for me to go chill out. So that's a wrap on this one, my friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and you'll be one of the first to know when I upload videos just like this each and every week. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.